should I be contributing more money towards my retirement or paying off my HELOC, which is about 160,000 at 3.99% for a year?
So after watching the episode of The Ramsey Show on September 20th, I decided to do a bit of a breakdown. The lady who rang up was a 56-year-old. Her name was Michelle. She's currently single, age 56, and she has 11 years to retirement. Her gross income is around $100,000 a year, and she wants to know if she should pay off her HELOC, which is like a home equity loan if you're in Australia, and stop her retirement payments, or whether she should keep going with her retirement payments and same repayments as well. So her approximate monthly income, this is all just approximate, is around $6,333 per month. And because she said she has no savings at the moment, we presume that her expenses are actually around $6,333 a month. Her debt is a massive big HELOC of $164,000, and she used it on home renos and also a student loan, and it's currently locked in at 3.99% interest, which if she only paid interest only, it'd be about $545 a month, but we presume she's paying around $1,700. Principal and interest includes fees. So if she was to continue with this method, it would take 93 months or 7.3 years. So that's pretty significant. She has no savings, but she is investing, and she's got a match, 4% match with her employer, which is going into her retirement account, her 403B. In terms of her net worth, she has a $450,000 house with no mortgage, which is great, but she has the HELOC. Meanwhile, she has a fairly sizable retirement fund already of $700,000, giving her a current net worth of around $986,000. So, in terms of baby steps, she would also need to she should have she's saying she's got no savings, and she keeps on having expenses arise every time she tries to get ahead. At the current rate of $6,333, she would need about $38,000 for an emergency fund, which will take her, if she doesn't do any baby steps, around 1.8 years to save up after she's paid off her HELOC. Or if she's paid off her HELOC, it'll take her 3/4 of a year, 4.76 years. So she wanted to know whether she should keep going, putting in her retirement for the next 11 years. Technically, it'll get her around $88,000 more into her retirement fund. And that's not too bad. Her current retirement's $700,000. Her HELOC, as I said, is quite significant, and she would be paying off that at the same rate as what she's doing now. In terms of her emergency savings, she wouldn't be able to do that until she's finished her HELOC payments, which is around 7.75 years, as we found out before up here. And her emergency savings will take around 1.8 years. So that's going to impact on her ability then to put in extra retirement funds, matching her extra 7% to make up to the 15% that Baby Step 4 recommends. And she'll technically, before she retires, only have 1.45 years to add that in, because as time creeps on, 7.75 years and then another 1.8 years, you're almost looking at the 9 to 10 year mark, and then she'll only be able to contribute 1.45 years after she's saved up her retirement fund. And then looking at once she's paid for her retirement once she's paid for emergency fund, and then she's investing her extra 7%, she could have around 20,000, or sorry, 17,000 that she could add to her retirement fund. And again, she wouldn't be able to do that till she's finished a loan, until she's finished the emergency fund. So equaling around 1.45 years as well until she turns and retires. Of course, she can retire later, but if she wanted to retire at 67, she would only earn herself an extra 34,000. So her net total, without the house and without the compounding interest on the 700,000 there already, and the amount here, is around 865. So you can see here she'll be debt free in 7.75 years. She'll be age 63 and 3/4, almost 64, and that will end up finishing around the year 2031. So what is the difference between that and the Ramsey method? Well, if she did the Ramsey method, yes, she's going to contribute 37% more doing the 4% match. However, in terms of the non-benefit, so in terms of being able to contribute longer because you're going to pay off your debt quicker, then it actually ends up being almost 80% worse off, with an overall difference of 10% difference. So looking at the Ramsey method, take you down to that one. So what does that work out to be if she did the baby step method? So we're looking at the Dave Ramsey 11 years to retirement. It's a pretty conservative projection, so don't come at me. So as we said, if she paused that match for 3.28 years, as we said here, she'll be debt-free in 3.28 years. She'll only net 55, or should be only contributing 55 in that 11 years, 55.6, which is 30%, 37%, 37% difference, which is quite a bit. However, if she goes and pays off that HELOC in that 3.2 years, she will be able to then contribute all those payments that she was putting towards it to emergency fund, and she'll get that done in less than a year, 3/4 of a year. And then she'll have a greater number of years, almost 7 years, where she can add that extra 7%, and she'll have an extra 7 years to add that 17,000, and that's presuming she doesn't get a raise or anything. So in the end, it almost works out to be 80% better for her to contribute those amounts afterwards. She will be debt-free before she's 60. She'll in the year 2027, which is not too far away. And then overall difference, just on based with no compounding interest taken into account, is 10%. But I thought I might show you a slightly easier way to do that and visualize it. So let me take you to this page. Oops, that's a little bit too far away. So I've broken this down by year just to show you the difference between the two options. So this is the non-baby step plan. So this is her just continuing to play the HELOC off for the duration of the time at that basic amount of 1,700. She'll finish that in June, year 8, in the year 2032. Everything else, so emergency savings, will need to be delayed due to the debt. And even so, she won't be able to fully fund it in that year 8. She'll have to do it over 2 years. She'll continue to do the match, which will net her a greater amount, so that will improve. However, it does impact the other ability to do that additional 7% in retirement, and then that additional baby step 7 into retirement. As you can see, this one's taking into account the on average 10% growth for retirement funds over those years, so it is increasing a fair bit, and it will usually double in 7.2 years. But in terms of financial peace, so Ramsey is very big on financial peace. And financial peace is not having the money problems or issues, and being able to maneuver and live and breathe a little bit easier. So as you can see with this plan, if she kept going with her current plan, she's going to be financially stressed right up until that year 8. That's 8 years of not having an emergency fund, 8 years of things going wrong. And as you can see, by the end of June, she should have paid off her HELOC. She would have gathered around 10,000 in savings. She's still contributing to her tax or her retirement fund and getting the match by her employer. But now we would see that she would need to pause the 7% extra into retirement to make it up to the 15% because for another 2 years, because the emergency fund's not funded. And the same for the extra amount that she'll have in margin she'll have in her pay packet. She'll need to pause that too until year 10. So she only gets a partial amount of benefit from those. So you can see there's a little bit less stress in that year 8. And the loan's finished midway through and the emergency savings has started, but it's not fully funded. It's still not fully funded by the end of that year, year 9. It will actually only be fully funded by the time she got to the 10th year, 1 year before retirement. And she'll only have really 2 years of financial peace. So in the end, the amount she will have with compounding interest in this calculation, she will have around 2.2 million. But if we're looking at it in terms of comparing it to the baby step method, it's about $120,000 less in her pocket by the time she retires, which ends up being around about a 5.37% difference, which doesn't sound like heaps, but 100,000 is quite significant. So if we go to the Ramsey method, the advice they would say is to consider the HELOC, to take it back to the baby step number 2, put all your tax that you're putting in your retirement match, put that in, so that's 4,000 a year. Put in your HELOC payment, and then boost up any other money that you can towards that 50,000 max, and then keep paying it off every year. And as you'll see, the financial stress, everything else is paused. All the retirement savings is paused, but you'll see that they are, sorry, this one's Feb. And by February of year 2027, year 4, then they partway through the year, they'll be able to, in that full year, they'll be able to throw all those funds now at the emergency savings. So now she's fully funded and throwing a party. So less years in financial stress. And then everything's completed by year 5, and then she can start contributing those payments towards her retirement. So getting them 4% match from her employer, contributing the extra 7% for the baby step 4 method, which is here, and then the additional retirement contributions, say of 17,000, comparing apples with apples. And then you can see that there's more years here of financial peace, and her retirement savings are actually increasing. So this one, her current one, is increased the same, but you'll see there's more funds by the time she gets to year 11. And this is increasing. Savings are being put into a high interest savings account, whereas the other ones are all in retirement funds. And as I said, she'll end up having around $120,000 better off if she did this method. She'll be a lot more less stressed in a quicker time. 4 years is still quite a lot. 3 years from now if she started today. And yeah, it's a It doesn't look like it will be much, but it's actually a lot better method. It's a bit hard to visualize when you can't see how that actually affects you. Thank you. If you have any situations that you want me to visualize like this, let me know and I'll have a go at doing it. Thank you.